Really 007 podcast, and this is a very special episode because we are being joined by an actor from long ago from Thailand. Would you believe it? This is the boy who you might know as the Elephant Boy from The Man with the Golden Gun. Now, Sayun is here with us. Sayun is obviously all grown up now, many years on, and he's still living in Thailand. And we're here to talk to him about his wonderful story, about filming James Bond with Roger Moore, and about his life since. So good afternoon. Is it evening there, Sayun?
ตอนนี้ก็เป็นดึกแล้วเย็นแล้ว Yeah, it's 6.
We have with us Sayun, and we've also got Rusty, his good friend, who is able to translate into Thai for him, just to make it a lot easier for everybody to speak. It's wonderful to see you, Sayun.
He's happy to see you guys too.
Great to see you. Yeah. We've also got John with us and Matt from the podcast, and we've also got John Orty from Behind the Stunts, who is another big Bond fan, who is a big fan of you as well, Sayun. So we're all here, very excited to speak to you.
Okay, well, he's very excited also. This is only his second appearance ever. He's apologizing that his appearance is quite old these days. He's very old.
Happens to us all. I shouldn't worry about it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He says at that time he was like 14 years old, and now it's almost 50 years later. He's 63. He'll be 64 next month.
Wow. Amazing. Well, I wanted to speak to you as well, Rusty. How did you track Sayun down after all these years?
Well, it was just kind of like a labor of love. Actually, I'm a private investigator by profession. So every now and then I'll do something just for the fun of it. And I've been here in Thailand for over 30 years. And I've thought about the movie every now and then and seen some of the locations. And I just thought to myself, it's during COVID, I didn't have much to do, so I decided to track him down. And it wasn't that easy because he's not even credited in the film. But yeah, I found him. I showed up unannounced to his house, and that was it. We've become friends since then.
จำสถานที่ได้แต่จำเนื้อหาของที่พูดจำไม่ได้
Yeah, he's saying he remembers almost everything from that day, except for the lines that he was given because he didn't speak English and he doesn't speak English now, and they wrote it all out phonetically. Just had him read it.
So first, how were you picked?
คือจากอังเคิลพาไปแล้วอังเคิลก็เป็นคนไปคุยเองครับผมไม่ได้คุยอังเคิลคุยเองอังเคิลที่พาผมไปแล้วผมก็ขึ้นไปข้างบนที่โรงแรมนารายณ์เสร็จแล้วก็อังเคิลก็เป็นผู้ที่ดำเนินการให้ผมทุกอย่างจนได้มามีสคริปต์เป็นกระดาษเขาบอกถ้าให้ผมเนี่ยถ้าเขาถามผมมาผมจะต้องเขาจะพูดอะไรก็แล้วแต่ให้ผมพูดตามนี้อันนี้คือคนนี้พูดแล้วนี่คือผมพูดนี่ที่พูดคนนี้ผมพูดคนนี้พูด
Basically, at the time, he was a street urchin, just like his role. He was looking after cars in a parking lot for tips, opening doors for people, and wiping the windshields. And he was approached by an Englishman. He refers to his uncle. We don't know his name or who he was, but he was an elderly Englishman with a cane, and he was staying in the hotel where Sayun was working in the parking lot. And one day he just came up to him and asked him, can you swim? Have you ever been in a movie? You want to be in a movie? And of course, Sayun at that time would do anything for any amount of money. So he was like, yeah, why not?
มีโว7 คนที่ไปด้วยกันก็ลงไปในนั้น
Yeah, I guess 6 or 7 kids were initially recruited, and they were all taken to the location on the day of the shooting, and they were made to do a screen test. They all had to jump in the water and see how they swam, and he was eventually chosen. So yeah, he didn't believe at first that it was a James Bond movie. He walks in the door and there's Hervé Villechaize, and there are all these beautiful European models there. And at that point he realized this is for real. A little guy. wearing a swim trunk ใส่ชุดว่ายน้ำ
ใช่ครับ
He was wearing a little tiny swim shorts by the pool of the hotel, and all of the blonde bombshells from
ดี
the
มาก
movie.
มีบรันดีด้วยมีเลดี้ด้วย
Yeah, he's surrounded by girls and drinking booze and having a great time.
เขาก็ยิ้มให้นะเขาไม่ค่อยนั่นเขายิ้ม
Yeah, so Hervé smiles at him, but they didn't speak. But yeah, it was just he was plucked off of the street and put into the movie.
ไม่ค่อยวุ่นวายฝรั่งยิ้มให้ทุกคนนะที่ไปเวลาขึ้นไปวันนั้นยังที่ยังไม่ได้ถ่ายทุกคนหันไปก็จะยิ้มให้ยิ้ม
Yeah, he said everyone was very friendly and smiled at him. The first time he met Roger Moore, he winked at him twice. ก็แบบพี่ตาสองครั้งใช่ไหม
ใช่ใช่ใช่ใช่
Yeah.
เขาจะเล่นสกา
Yeah.
แล้วก็ถือฟิก้า
Yeah.
เจมส์บอนด์
He was taken to the set, which was at a Thai temple next to the canal where it was to be
เขา
filmed.
สกา
And Roger Moore was sitting down there playing backgammon with a buddy of his, shaking the dice, and he had a cigar in his hand and a brandy in the other. And he looked over at Sayun and just winked twice at him, like, we're in this together. And he was very friendly and nice, but Law Ma, very handsome, very, very handsome. He struck him as being very handsome and very tall.
Well, that's what you say to him in the film, isn't it? You say you're a very handsome man.
Yeah. ที่ในหนังเขาก็พูดอยู่ handsome.
แฮนซัม
That's right.
ตอนถ่ายมีคนหนึ่งมองข้างๆใครๆอยู่นี่แหละแต่เห็นเนี่ยนี่ก็โรจุโมแต่ไม่ใช่โรจุโมก็นั่ง
He had someone just off camera feeding him the lines.
Okay.
Yeah. 40 baht, 50 baht, 60 baht. He just parroted it. And it's amazing they got such a performance out of him. But yeah, it was pretty good.
เหมือนกับผมคุยกับลัตตี้เขาจะพูดมาอย่างนี้ผมจะไปอย่างนี้ให้ภาษาอังกฤษแบบถูกต้องออกเสียงไปปุ๊บเดี๋ยวหลายครั้งพอเรือมาเขาก็บอกแอคชั่นปุ๊บเรือมาแล้วก็เข้า
He said there was someone sitting next to him, just like I am right now, feeding him the lines, and he would repeat them over and over again until he got it right. And then action, and he'd jump in the boat or jump in the water and
ไม่ได้เรื่อง
remember
มา
the
ก
lines. Yeah,
ไม่ได้เรื่องมาก
just do whatever they told him.
ไม่เรื่องมากของถ่ายไม่เรื่องมาก
Yeah, it was very comfortable, very easy going on set. So he was quite
คือต้องพูดให้ชัดภาษาอังกฤษต้องพูดให้ชัด
and they just said, please try to speak clearly and try to repeat exactly what we tell you.
I wanted to ask, if I may, Roger says in his autobiography, or the diaries that were kept from that period of time, going in and out of the Klong had given him a course to go to the doctor and get treated. I was wondering how long a period of time you were in and out of the water there. Was it a long time, over a period of time?
เขาถามว่าโดดน้ำขึ้นมาหนานมากไหมที่อยู่ในน้ำ
ตอนเด็กยังไม่ค่อยหนาวหรอกเพราะเรา
ไม่มันต้องอยู่ในน้ำนานเท่าไหร่ตอนนั้น
ตอนนั้นก็แช่อยู่ก่อนนะแช่อยู่เปาะอยู่นั้นไม่ได้ว่าขึ้นมานั่งอยู่ในน้ำนั้นแล้วก็ขึ้นมา
He says he was in the water for about half an hour at a time, and then he'd come up and dry off, and if they had to do another take, he'd get
เหมือ
in
นชาว
again.
บ้านเล่นน้ำทั่วไปอย่างเงี้ยแล้วก็ลงไปเล่นอย่างเงี้ยแล้วก็คุณแม่ก็โอเค
But he was used to this kind of living as a kid by the Klongs.
ช้างเนี่ยเราก็จะวางไว้เราก็เล่นเราอยู่อย่างนั้นพอปุ๊บเราก็ทุกคนเนี่ยจะต้องมีช้างแต่ฉากนี้ใครจะขึ้นไปแค่นั้นเอง
So yeah, he'd have the elephant with him, and they'd put it down, and he'd jump in the water, give him the elephant, and then
ปกติเล่นน้ำทั่วไปเหมือนเด็กเล่นน้ำทั่วไปให้เราเล่นอย่างนั้น
just they had him swim like any kid would in the river at that time.
ไม่ใช่ว่าเราแบบปุ๊บ
แต่ไม่ป่วยขึ้นมาไม่ป่วย
ไม่มีครับไม่มี
No, he didn't get sick.
No.
I think he probably had a stronger constitution. than
Exactly. Yes, that's what I thought. I suspected that he might have had.
เพราะว่าแค่ปุ๊บก็มาเลย
Yeah.
เอาว่าเข้าเลย
But Roger Moore wasn't scripted to be in the water. I think he fell in. Was that right? I don't know.
I believe so. I think that was the case. He may have inadvertently gone in it, and then looked at all the locals who were also using the waterway for all manner of other considerations, and then decided that maybe he was a hypochondriac, of course. So the moment that somebody said you might catch something in there, he automatically had caught whatever he caught. So he went to go and see his doctor. But I was interested because obviously Sayun spent, evidently from what we're looking at on film, quite a period of time in the water. So but he was used to that sort of surroundings. And of course with the waterway itself, was it normally that busy? I mean, I imagine that's a main traffic route up and down there with boats.
เยอะมากมีเรือเข้าออกบ่อย
ไม่อ่ะ
เขาก็บล็อกไว้
ไปมันคือแบบเขาก็เลือกสถานที่เขาแล้ว
เขาก็จองไว้
เขาเลือกสถานที่อันนั้นมันไม่ใช่เป็นที่พลุกพล่านนะคือเหมือนว่าเขาเตรียมไปแล้วอ่ะเหมือนกับจัดสถานที่ไว้
Yeah. Well, obviously on the day of the filming they had it blocked off from anyone else. But yes, it's a busy waterway. It's the main klong that leads from the river to the floating market where the scenes with the elephant and the baby elephant in Clifton James were filmed. So yeah, even today it's still quite busy. I was there yesterday just having a look around. It was the first time I was there, and there were still tourist boats going back and forth.
ไม่เหมือนสมัยนี้ไม่มีคนเข้าไปเขาชาวบ้านเขาอยู่เขาปกติเราก็ไปของเราที่คนเขาก็ไม่ได้มายุ่งอะไรเราก็มีแต่เจ้าหน้าที่กองถ่ายแล้วก็คนที่เข้าฉาก
Yeah, but on the day he's saying it was a completely controlled environment. So yeah, he wasn't in danger of being run over by a boat or anything.
Good. I'm very pleased to hear it.
Was there a lot of excitement in the local area that a James Bond film had come there, and you know that this huge franchise was being filmed in this area?
ชาวบ้านที่อยู่ใกล้ๆเขาก็ตื่นเต้นกันไหมเขามาดูไหม
เขาดูว่าเราทำอะไรกันแค่นั้นเนี่ยเขาก็มาดูผมก็มองเขาก็ดูเขาก็คือเขาก็ไม่มีแบบว่า
เขารู้ว่าเป็นเจมส์บอนด์ไหม
ไม่เขาไม่รู้เขานึกมาถ่ายหนังเพราะไม่เห็นโรเจอร์มูร์เพราะไม่มีดาราดังก็มีเขาก็นึกว่าธรรมดาในพวกนี้นะ
แต่เห็นโรเจอร์มูร์ทีหลัง
ถ้าเขาเห็นโรเจอร์มูร์เขาก็คงจะออกมาล่ะ
Yeah, he said a lot of people came out to watch, and they didn't have any idea what was being filmed at the beginning until they saw Roger Moore come out, and then they had an idea. But Sayun told me at the time he didn't even know that Roger Moore had taken over the franchise from Sean Connery. To him, Bond was Sean Connery. He hadn't seen Live and Let Die.
โรเจอร์มูร์นั่งอย่างนี้มันเหตุบังเอิญที่เราเข้าไปตรงนั้นเพราะจริงๆแล้วอ่ะมันจะเป็นห้องเนี่ยเขานั่งเล่น
Yeah, when they weren't filming, Roger was, off a little bit to the side, and the local people couldn't see him. So most of the time they couldn't tell what was going on. But he told me earlier that he knew who Roger Moore was from The Saints. Now he didn't know that Roger Moore had taken on Bond role at that time.
Right.
เพราะนั่นมันหน้ากับประเด็นก็จะมีห้องแบบนี้คือเราก็เดินแต่ว่าโรเจอร์มูร์เขาจะต้องอยู่ไม่มีใครรู้ว่าโรเจอร์มูร์อยู่นี้เขาพอเราเดินผ่านก็เห็นตัวผมเองรู้เห็นสิ่งที่มาอย่างเงี้ยว่าเขาว่าอย่างนี้มา
He said, Roger Moore was often like a dressing room, but he could see him when he walked past. So that's the first time he saw Roger Moore sitting there playing backgammon. But yesterday I went to the site as well, and there was an old woman there, and I asked if she was there on that day. She said yes, she was 17 years old, and she remembers it very clearly.
So it sounds like a very close community there. You're referring to people who were there back in 74 and are still there now.
คนที่จะอยู่ที่นั่นตอนนั้นก็ยังอยู่
อย่างนั้นไปเลยครับชีวิตเขาจะอยู่อย่างนั้นคนที่มีบ้านอยู่ที่คลองไม่ได้เช่าเขาก็จะไปปลูกแล้วอยู่ตรงนั้นแต่ก่อนเนี่ยที่เพิ่งมารู้ทีหลังว่าพวกเนี้ยแต่ก่อนไปพักอาศัยเนี่ยไปปลูกได้เลยแต่ปัจจุบันเนี่ยถ้าจะอยู่ต้องขออนุญาตกับทางราชการ
Yeah. He said it's a very close community along the sides of the Klong. It's basically a squatter community. These people have been there for generations. New people can't just go and set up there. But he said the same people who lived there in 1974 are still living there now.
Wow.
ไม่มีเปลี่ยน
Yeah, nothing's changed.
ไม่มีเปลี่ยนไม่มีเปลี่ยนคือจะมีทะเบียนราษฎร์คือคนไทยอยู่อย่างนี้มาทุกวันนี้พวกนั้นก็ต้องอยู่อย่างนี้ถ้าเขายังไม่ตายต่อไปเขาอาจจะเจอเขาอาจจะจำได้
He's saying he can still go over there today, he thinks, and might find people who remember him from that day.
หลังจากวันนั้น
ได้เข้าไปดูไหมที่ว่า
ไม่เคยไป
He's never been back since the day of the
เป็น
filming.
เด็กมากไม่มีความคิดพวกนี้
Right. It's quite far from his home. He's never been back to that filming location, but I think I'm going to take him someday so he can point out the exact
Yeah,
site,
absolutely. Yeah,
you know, where
quite
he
right.
saw Roger Moore and where he jumped in.
แต่โรเจอร์ Moore นี่เราจำได้เพราะเราดูในหนังไซมอนแทมป้า
Simon Templar. He knew Roger as Simon Templar.
I'm surprised they haven't named that point on the Klong after him. You would have thought by now, Cyan's the dipping point or somewhere of that nature. That's the place where a little plaque where he would have gone in.
ตั้งอนุสาวรีย์เป็นที่จุดของสายันเลย
ไม่ได้ไม่ได้
He doesn't think that's
ไม่ได้
possible. Even just to have this little bit of recognition now, it makes him very proud. No one has talked to him about this in 48 years. I think around 10 years ago, a James Bond fan found him by accident through one of the guys who's a friend of his named Guru, who was in the karate scene.
Okay.
He was one of the guys in white, and he lived right across from Sayan, and they're still friends today. As a matter of fact, we're going to go have dinner with him.
Oh, nice.
After this, I have not met him yet, but he's still in the martial arts business. He has a Thai boxing gym, but he was one of the guys, and he actually showed me some of the photographs from the set that I'd never seen before. Roger Moore was very playful with them, and play guitar, and surrounded by the other actors, and it looks like a very happy kind of set.
It always struck me as fascinating how a movie like this, which is made back in 1974, and yet there's millions of people all around the world who know and love the James Bond movies, and there are individuals who crop up in each movie who leave a lasting impression on you as a viewer. Well, certainly Cyan's brief moment on screen is definitely one of those moments. Roger talked about that for years, right the way through his life, particularly when he became a UNICEF ambassador, because it was something that he thought was quite peculiar, that here he was an individual who was supporting the rights of children, and yet he was seen in the film to push one in the Klong, so there was all of that going on.
I had read that was one of the things that he regretted from his youth. เขาบอกว่าที่หลังโรเจอร์ มัวร์เขาก็คิดว่าไม่ควรเทสายันเข้าไปในน้ำมันดูไม่ดีมันจะแย่ แล้วเขาทำงานมูลนิธิเด็กด้วยมันไม่เหมาะสมเขาก็คิดว่าเสียใจที่ทำโรเจอร์ มัวร์เขาก็เขียน
แต่บางทีว่ามันเป็นการแสดงครับ
Yeah, he said it was all just for fun. It was just performing.
Oh, sure, no, absolutely.
So he says you don't have to feel sorry for elephant. It's all pretend.
ผมก็ไม่ได้บอกว่าจะโดนโรเจอร์พิงแต่ว่าโรเจอร์ มูร์พูดมาผมก็พูดกลับโรเจอร์ มูร์ก็พูดกลับ
ไม่รู้จะโดน
ไม่รู้ก็จะพูดไปอย่างนี้คือเราพูดไปมันก็ขึ้นมาอย่างนี้เนี่ย
He said the first take he didn't know that he was going to be thrown in the water, so it was a genuine surprise expression on his face.
Yeah, kept that well and truly to themselves. But it's fascinating that we're able to talk to him now after all these years, and there are, you could throw a stick and hit 25 people who would know his character, and they'd know that scene because they're fans of the film, and they're fans of, and they probably have. And I also know this for a fact. There are many people who've seen the film, have gone to Thailand, and have come back with an elephant, because of that particular sequence. So it's a lasting. Exactly.
Well,
yeah, everybody's done
Fan
it.
Club James Bond. Well, they certainly got their money's worth out of him. He was only paid 250 baht for the day, which is, at the time, it was like $12.
Much less than starting a speedboat and making it go faster. I must admit, I think he was worth 20,000 baht, surely.
Yeah, well, he got 250 baht, and a speaking part. He had to do his own stunts. He had to spend the day in the water. I think they really kind of took advantage of him. But it's 50 years ago, and that's why one of the reasons I helped him put up a website was to try to help him make some money from this fame. He lives in pretty humble circumstances to buy autograph photos and things like that.
Cool. Okay. So what is it that Sayun? I know he was doing some delivery driving and bits and pieces, but has that been a constant throughout the rest of his career, or has he diversified into other types of income?
ราคาผมก็จะเป็นคนกำหนดเองในไม่เกิน20 กิโลเนี่ย ก็อยู่ประมาณ150 บาท
He's basically a freelance delivery man, and all of the people in the neighborhood know who he is. If they need something delivered, the food vendors, if they need to send food to a customer, they just call him up and he'll deliver it up to 20 kilometers. So he'll deliver it for 150 baht, which is
เพราะผมเคยทำ
$4.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And his father did this kind of work before. But ทำมานานหรือยังครับที่ทำ
ทำมาเนี่ยก็5 ปีแล้วครับแต่ก่อนผมไปทำอูเบอร์ก่อนตอนที่เกษียณมาผมไปอยู่อูเบอร์ยังไม่เจ๊งยังไม่ได้ลงเจ๊งแข็งอูเบอร์จ่ายเงินดีมากผมก็เลยจำหลักการอูเบอร์มาผมก็วัดกิโลว่าไปนี่ได้เท่าไหร่
He's been a freelance delivery guy for about 5 years. Before that, he did some driving for Uber. So he knows the distances and the costs, but he doesn't drive for Uber anymore.
เป็น messenger
Yeah, he was a messenger for a customs broker company
วางบิน
for
รับเช็ค
years, picking up checks, sending documents. And before that, ก่อนหน้านั้น
เป็นก่อนหนั้นนะครับผมก็เป็น messenger เนี่ยแล้วไปเป็นไอ้นี่ก่อนนะก่อนจะมาทำงานบริษัทผมไปเป็นผู้ดูแลโต๊ะสนุก
And back in the early days, he was like a manager in a pool hall.
ปี25
Right. This was quite soon after his role in the movie. He dropped out of school in 7th grade, and he was like a denizen of the pool halls around Bangkok, and
Right.
he ended up working for one for a while. And he has a very interesting life story.
โต๊ะสนุกว่าแบรนด์ลุกROKS ลุกผมไปดูแลโต๊ะลุก
There was a very famous pool hall at the time in Bangkok called Rooks, ROOKS.
ROKS
ROOKS. Yeah,
อีกา
right. So he managed the queue for the people who wanted to play pool, and he was a very good pool player himself. That's no big guy. Yeah, he likes to play pool. He's a good pool player.
What was there ever the possibility of directional change after the film? I mean, did he think, was he bitten by the bug of the whole making movies and being part of that? Was that something that he had considered going towards maybe after working on the film?
เขาถามว่าหลังจากถ่ายหนังเคยคิดว่าจะเป็นนักแสดงหรือจะอยู่เบื้องหลังจะเป็นกองถ่ายหรืออะไร
คือตอนนั้นเป็นเด็กที่ไม่ได้คิดอย่างอื่นเลยคิดอยู่คือจะเล่นตังค์เพื่อใจอะไรอยากจะเรียนหนังสือก็ได้ตังค์มาก็มันเองก็ไม่มีคนสอนหนังสือก็ไปได้แค่นี้
He said he was just a kid. He had no real deep thoughts, no thinking about the future.
มันไม่อบอุ่น
He was just hustling to make enough money to get through the day, and this was just one thing he did to make money. And a street kid from the very beginning, and has just been hustling for the last 50 years.
มีครอบครัวแต่เหมือนไม่มี
He says he has a family. He has a father, and 8 brothers and sisters. He's four of 8, but it was a broken family. He never lived with his mother and father. Very poor. He was homeless at one point before the filming of the movie, sleeping on the steps of a movie theater, and basically, a difficult situation, a broken family. So he's been looking after himself from a very early age. He was kicked out of school for beating a kid up for looking down on him for being poor, and was kind of bumped around, from uncle's house to brother's house, a very unstable family life.
Is it true that your own family didn't believe that you were in the film?
เขาถามว่าจริงหรือเปล่าที่ครอบครัวไม่เคยเชื่อว่าไปถ่ายหนัง He says it's true. He came back at the end of the day. He said, "Hey, I've been in a movie today," and they said, "Yeah, right." Yeah, his family life lacked warmth and trust, and he was a bad kid. He was just a delinquent and prone to lying, and they didn't believe him. His parents never saw him in the movie. His parents never saw a movie in their whole lives. They'd never been in the theater, and no one believed him, and no one saw him in the movie when it was playing. And only recently, since we have YouTube and can watch it anytime, do his brothers and sisters acknowledge that, yeah, he was telling the truth.
ชีวิตที่ไม่เหมือนครอบครัวอื่นที่ก็มีพ่อมีแม่ของผมก็มีพ่อมีแม่แต่ไม่ได้อยู่ด้วยกันเรียนหนังสือ ทำงานบ้านไม่ได้ไม่มีคนสอนก็ไม่ได้ทำไม่ได้ไปโรงเรียนค่าอาหารก็ไม่มีก็ลำบากอีกวิถีสมองตอนนั้นคิดอย่างเดียวว่าทำยังไงให้เลี้ยงชีพได้
It was a broken family. He would come home from school. There'd be no adults there, no one to help him with his homework. He had no money to buy food at lunch at school. So from a very early age, he would shine shoes on the street. He was begging at one point, in charge of his own destiny since a very early age.
Well, let's hope that this is the start of a second career then, because that would be great if we could, if something could come of this, because it's about time that you're recognized the way that other individuals, other actors who worked in Bond pictures are recognized. So it's this could be the start of something very big.
ที่ได้มาจาก
ได้เพราะมีอันนี้ก็ทุกวันนี้ก็อย่างที่ผมบอกแล้วที่ไปว่าคนเราต้องมีความดีคือผู้ดีทำดีตามที่ท่านพ่อท่านสอนไว้ถ้าเราคิดดีมันก็จะได้ดีกับเราถ้าเราทำดีมันก็จะได้ตอบแทนกับเราสิ่งที่เรามีต้องมีที่สุดก็คือคุณธรรมอย่างที่ผมมาได้เงินไม่ใช่มาได้เงินมาแล้วผมแฮปปี้ผมยังไปนู่นนี่ไม่ใช่ผมก็จะบอกแล้วผมต้องไปให้เขาการที่ผมให้เขาไม่มีสิ้นสุดได้มา
He has a very Buddhist view of the world. He says, even that he's getting some money now from these activities. That he's finally made that 20,000 baht just today that Roger Moore promised him back in the day. But it's not. He doesn't consider it his money. He's going to give a lot of it to charity, a lot of it to the institutions that have helped him. He was very ill many years ago. He had to have an open heart surgery, and he had zero money, no money at all. And it was actually paid for by a charity organization. So he believes that people have helped him all his life, and when he gets money, it's time for him to return the favor. So that is his plan. But yeah, he's very happy to be recognized now.
แผลที่ตัวผมที่แขนผมเนี่ยจะเตือนสติผมตลอดเวลาว่าเราเนี่ยต้องทำดีมีคุณธรรมที่เราน่ามาได้เงี้ยเพราะ
Yeah, he says the scars on his chest and on his abdomen, he's had many surgeries. He had some congenital defects in his heart and his abdomen. But the only reason he's sitting here today is because people were generous with him. So that is his plan for the future. Whatever comes his way is to help others that might be in a difficult situation as he was.
We're so grateful, Sayun, and there's so many millions of Bond fans who love you. You must know that. I want you to know that, Sayun.
ถ้าเขาบอกว่ามีแฟนคลับเป็นล้านคนที่ยังจำได้แล้วก็ยังรัก Sayunอยู่ He's very appreciative. Yeah, we'd be grateful if you could direct your listeners to the website. It's 007elephantboy.com.
Yeah, we will. Don't worry.
Sayun will.
Yeah,
Sayun autograph a photo. He'll personalize it any way you want.
Absolutely fantastic. Just going back to the day of filming, how much of it was improvised, Sayun? Were they making it up as they went along?
เขาถามว่าตอนถ่ายมันมากแค่ไหนที่มันอยู่ในสคริปต์หมดเลยใช่ไหมหรือแบบมีฟรีสไตล์แบบจะพูดอะไรเติม
ไม่ใช่ตาม
สคริปต์เลย
แบบลัตตี้พูดมาผมว่าพอลัตตี้พูดผมไม่รู้ลัตตี้พูดอะไรผมจะไปอย่างนี้ลัตตี้ผมพูดจบปุ๊บลัตตี้ถ้าลัตตี้ไม่พูดผมก็จะพูดไปเรื่อย
From his perspective, it was totally scripted. He didn't speak English, so there was no way for him to improvise. But what he saw, from what he saw, it appears to be everything by the script.
ไม่เหมือนเราคุยเราจะได้ไม่ต้องติดขัดลัตตี้พูดก็พูดผมก็พูดถ้าลัตตี้ไม่พูดผมก็พูดไปเรื่อยอย่างเงี้ยจะได้ไม่ต้องติดขัดภาษาอังกฤษโอเคเดี๋ยววันไหนเรื่อยอย่างงี้
He just spit back exactly what the assistant put in his ear.
And did the boat work? When you fix it, you change the little screw thing and it zooms off. I assume that might have been a bit of movie magic.
แต่ตอนนั้นเขาบอก
ตอนนั้นที่หมุนแววใช่ไหม
เขาบอกมีคนบอกให้ไปทำอย่างนั้นมีคนตะโกนมาให้เราทำ
แล้วก็รถวิ่งเรือวิ่งไปเลยใช่ไหม
ใช่ครับให้เราทำเพราะว่าเขาพูดให้เราทำเราทำแค่นั้นเองฮะให้เราทำ
He just did whatever they told him. They said they told him to turn the valve. He turned the valve, and then the boat went off. So in different takes, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just totally following instructions and looking forward to getting his 250 baht at the end of the day.
เขาก็จะให้เราทำเราก็ต้อง เขาบอกว่านี่นะถ้าตะโกนมาให้เราต้องทำเลยไงเขาตะโกนปุ๊บเราก็ทำเลย
Yeah, they would demonstrate what they would want him to do once, and they tell him, just follow us, do exactly what we do, turn the valve, and
คือเขาบอกว่า
it was like a little robot.
ตะโกนมานี่นะจับอย่างนี้นะพอตะโกนมาปุ๊บก็ทำเลยตะโกนเพราะไม่มีการเทสตะโกนมาก็ทำเลย
Yeah, they went very quickly right into takes. So they would prep him in advance and just get in the water,
ไม่
and
มีคำว่า1 2 3ไม่มีอย่างนี้ฮะ
they would just say action, and that was it. You just do it.
As well as yourself being an iconic character, there's also another one who appeared in like later on in that scene. Sheriff J.W. Pepper. Do you remember him? Do you know who I'm talking about? Did you meet him at all?
ฝรั่งที่ตัวอ้วนๆที่เป็นนาย I've got the book here, the Bond in Thailand book.
คือ
I'll show him a photo.
คือเราจะอยู่คือผมจะอยู่ในกลุ่ม
ไม่เป็นนักท่องเที่ยวที่อยู่บนเรือนักท่องเที่ยว
In the film, he's there with his wife and he gets pushed into the water by an elephant. Oh, look, there's a picture there. Look, on the John's put up.
There we are. That's that. Now I'm just holding up a picture of the Clifton James in character as J.W. Pepper.
ตามว่ามันติด
นี่
ตา
ค
ม
น
ว่า
อ้วนอยู่บนเรือจำได้ปะ I don't think he remember. No, he doesn't remember.
Okay, no problem.
To film
No
it
problem.
separately.
Yeah.
He says he remembers Hervé Villechaize very clearly because
Yes.
it was, his size, but he doesn't remember Clifton
มัน
James.
จะไม่ค่อยติดตาเขามันจะไม่เชื่อมันจะไม่ตัวเตี้ยเนี่ย
Yeah, it wasn't someone he recognized.
Interesting that
He recognized Hervé Villechaize and he recognized Roger Moore.
คือเรามันไม่ได้เข้ามาไม่เหมือนโรเจอร์มัวร์คนตัวเตี้ยมันโรเจอร์มัวร์เขาก็คือโรเจอร์มัวร์แล้วอย่างนี้เรามันไม่ใช่เราก็ไม่ได้เข้ามา
He says when he came across Roger Moore, it was like, a shock because this is a guy I've seen on the screen.
คนตัว
He
เตี้ย
knew very well, and Hervé Villechaize as well. But the other actors were not known to him, so he didn't really pay attention.
It's always interesting that everybody remembers Hervé Villechaize, and yet Sayun, you've probably been about the same size. I would have thought back then. You pair of you could have been separated at birth.
He was about the same size.
คือเราคือด้วยความที่เราอย่างเด็กก็เห็นอย่างนั้นเราก็เราเคยเห็นแล้วมีคนใช่ตัวเตี้ยแล้วก็อยู่ในใจเราอยู่แล้วพอเห็นโรเจอร์มัวร์แล้วโอ้โหอย่างนี้เราไม่เคยแล้วก็มันก็เลยแบบไม่มีแบบปฏิกิริยาว่า
Yeah, he was really excited to see Hervé and Roger Moore because he knew them very well, and Hervé was about his size.
Yeah.
Because คุณเป็นคนตัวเล็กเหมือนอยู่แล้วใช่ไหมตั้งแต่เด็ก He's been a small guy ever since he was a kid. Quite bad health. He was 14 at that time, but still quite small.
14. Wow, that's I never thought. You've just answered another question there because you assumed that looking at the footage he would have been 7 or 8 or 9 maybe, but 14 is actually quite old in that comparison, but quite small.
So right now his height is only 159 centimeters. He's always been small.
Look, see, there we are.
So working with Roger Moore, you mentioned Roger again there. How was he as a person? Was he a nice man to work with?
บุคลิกเขาเป็นยังไงเป็นคนใจดีเป็นใจเย็น
คือตอนที่คือจังหวะเนี่ยที่เราเดินไปตอนนี้เรายังไม่ได้เข้าเราก็เดินไปโรเจอร์มัวร์ก็นั่งอยู่กันก็โรเจอร์มัวร์เขาก็หันมาทึบแล้วก็บรันดีเขาก็เป็นตะกาเขาก็โอเคนะ
ใจดีใช่ไหม
ถ้าเขาไม่ใจดีก็คงไม่ยิบตาให้ผมหรอก
Yeah, he said he was very nice. I mean, basically he walked by the place where Roger Moore was sitting there playing backgammon with his friend, and he didn't have to look up or acknowledge him at all. But Sayun walked by and kind of started and said, "Oh, it's Roger Moore," and Roger Moore turned to him and smiled, big smile, and winked at him twice. Sayun says if he wasn't a nice guy, he wouldn't have even bothered to do that. But no, he was very warm, and there are also a lot of photographs taken on the set of Roger Moore with a lot of the extras looking very happy and warm. He's a gentleman, เป็นสุภาพบุรุษ
ใช่ครับถ้าเขาไม่ใจดีหรือเขาเป็นคนนั้นถ้าเขาเป็นคนที่แบบนั้นเขาก็คงจะไม่มองผมแล้วเขาไม่อย่างนี้หรอกเขาคงต้องเขาโอเคนะถ้าเขาอย่างนี้ตามหลักแล้ว
No, he got a very good impression from Roger Moore. A very, very warm impression.
That's good to hear.
I also believe that the production crew presented you with some clothing at the end of shooting. Is that right?
เขาถามเรื่องที่ฝากเสื้อผ้าให้ใช่ไหมนั่นคือก่อนถ่ายใช่ไหมที่เขาซื้อรีไวซ์ซื้ออะไร
ก่อนนะตอนนั้นยังไม่รู้เลยว่าจะมาถ่ายหนัง
This was before the shooting.
Oh, I see.
Before the shooting was even mentioned. The old guy with the cane.
ไม่ขอตังค์เขา
Yeah, Sayun had gone to beg from him. He said, give me 10 baht, right?
Hey you give me 10 baht hey you give me 10 baht
This guy said, well, there's a department store here. Let me take you and buy you some clothes because, he was in tattered, dirty clothes. And he bought Levi.
กางเกงขายาวผ้ามันรีวาย2 ตัวเสื้อเชิ้ต2 ตัวรองเท้า1 คู่ US Master
He bought him 2 pairs of Levi's, 2 shirts, and a pair of shoes, US Masters shoes that look kind of like Converse.
Wow.
And this was before anything was mentioned about the filming at all. It was only the next day where he saw him again in the parking lot and said, hey, can you swim? You want to be in a movie?
ให้ใส่เสื้อผ้าที่ซื้อให้ 9 โมงไปหาที่ล็อบบี้
So he bought him these clothes and told Sayun, okay, you wear these clothes tomorrow at 9 o'clock. I'll take you to be in a movie. And the next morning at 9 o'clock, Sayun showed up wearing the bright new clothes, and he took him to the Narai Hotel, which was where all the cast and crew were staying, and that's where he met Hervé Villechaize for the first time.
Fascinating to find out who this person was. I'm imagining it's a casting director, but I'll double check it and see if we can come up with a name before the end of this.
He says he was quite an old man, Englishman, he assumes, had a cane. He walked with a cane, but he was not staying at the Narai Hotel with the rest of the cast and crew.
Right. Okay.
He was staying at the Indra Hotel, which is where Sayun was working in the parking lot. So we don't have any idea what his name was or who he was.
เพื่อนพาไปที่ตอนเช้าไปที่โรงแรมนาราย
แต่เขาพูดไทยได้
ใช่ครับอังเคิล
This guy spoke Thai, so maybe he was a local fixer.
Oh, maybe a local fixer. Right. Okay.
That's what
ไป
I
ตรวจ
think.
คนฝรั่งตัวเล็กใส่หมวกแคปเงี้ยแล้วมีไม้เท้าผมไปกับอังเคิลเขาจะพูดไทยได้ผมก็พาผมไปที่โรงแรมนารายก็จะที่ร้านที่เป็นร้านแต่น้ำก็จะมีโต๊ะทำงานก็มีผู้หญิงมาก็สอบถามผมชื่ออะไรเขาคุยกับผมเรียบร้อยเขาให้ผมเซ็นแล้วให้ผมเก็บไว้ตอนเย็นให้ผมไปรับตังค์แล้วอังเคิลก็เป็นคนจัดการให้ผมทั้งหมดแล้วแกก็ไม่ได้พูดไม่ได้มาหาผมอีกเลย
So the guy was wearing a cap, had a cane, was quite elderly. Took him to the Narai Hotel, introduced him to one of the production assistants, asked him to sign his name on a pay voucher. The pay was 250 baht for the day. He got paid that day, even though they didn't film that actual day. They filmed the next day. Mm-hmm. And then he never saw this guy again. So it must have been a local fixer, someone who was recruiting local extras or talent for the film. And that was the last time he saw him.
ผมไม่หาที่โรงแรมเขาก็ไม่อยู่แล้วอะจากที่ไปถ่ายหนังอะไรเสร็จเรียบร้อยแล้วจนนั้นผมก็ไม่รู้ว่าผมไม่อยากจะเจอเขาจากผมไม่รู้หนังไปถึงไหนแล้วผมไม่รู้จากที่ผม4 วันน่ะไปอยู่ที่วัดอังคีน่ะไปวันแรกก็ยังไม่ได้ถ่ายนะไปก็ไปดูเขาก่อนวันที่2อ่ะไปถึงไปเจอพี่ตู่แล้วก็ได้โอเคนะ
Yeah, it wasn't until the second day, the next day after he showed up at the hotel wearing his clothes that the actual filming took place.
Right. Okay.
And, he never saw the recruiter again, and actually went back to the hotel and tried to find him, but he had checked out. So it's a mistake.
And what about Sayun's reaction to seeing the film for the first time? I mean, how did that happen? Was that at an event or was that elsewhere? Or did he not see it until many years later?
ดูหนังเป็นครั้งแรก
ก็ไม่ได้สนใจอะไรจนมาก็โตแล้วถึงมารู้ว่าอ๋อนี่เราไปพูดให้คนฟังเนี่ยกูเองอ่ะไม่มีใครเชื่อ
แต่เราเข้าไปดูหนังในโรงใช่ไหม
วันที่หนังฉายอ่ะที่มันเข้าไปโดยบังเอิญนะเข้าไปเพราะว่าเจ้าของผู้จัดการโรงหนังโรงแรมมินทราคือผมเป็นคนที่อยากหาตามมันก็เลยได้ไปเข้าไปพี
At the time, he had no idea what the movie was called or when it was coming out. There was no contact. after the filming with anyone from the production. So he actually
เราก็ไม่รู้ว่าเป็นหนังเราว่าเรื่องนี้ชื่อเจมส์บอนด์เราก็ไม่รู้แต่เรารู้ว่าอ้าวเราไปอยู่ในนี้ได้ไง
yeah. So when the movie was shown in Thailand, he wasn't even sure that it was the one he was in. He just went in to see this James Bond movie, and there he was on screen.
ไม่รู้เรื่องไม่รู้ล่วงหน้ามาก่อนว่าเป็นอะไรแต่ไปดูพอเราเรามาอยู่ในหนัง
Yeah, he had no idea going in that he was going to be on the screen, so it was a total shock to him. He was friends with the movie theater manager, so he always got to go in and see the movies for free. And no, there was no fanfare. It was just complete coincidence.
ไม่รู้ชื่อหนังแต่รู้ว่าเรารู้ว่าตัวเอง
ตกใจมาก
เราอยู่ในหนังเพราะเราก็ไม่รู้ว่าที่ไปหนังชื่ออะไรเราก็ไม่รู้เขาให้ไปเขาไปไปก็ทำเสร็จแล้วเราดูว่าโอ้เจอเราเจ้ามูยังกลับมาคุยว่าเฮ้ยกูเจอฝรั่งเป๊ะคนนี้เว้ยไอ้เนี่ยเราไม่รู้ว่ามันคืออะไรทั้งสิ้นแต่เรารู้ว่าเขาให้เราไปถ่ายหนังตรงนี้เราก็ถ่ายคนนี้
แต่รู้ว่าเป็นเจมส์บอนด์ไหม
ไม่รู้
He's saying that even when he was filming, he did not know it was a James Bond movie. They didn't tell him anything about what was going on. He saw Roger Moore, and he thought in his head, okay, that's Simon Templar. So he was not given any background on what was taking place or what he was getting involved in, and he just showed up to see this movie just out of.
ไม่รู้เรื่องอะไรสิ้นรู้ว่าให้ไปก็ไป
Yeah, he just followed the instructions, and no one told him anything, and then another day he was just at the movie theater, and the manager invited him to come in and see the movie, and there he was on screen.
คือผม
In a James Bond movie.
โรงหนังอินทานผมเข้าไปพบก่อนผมไปถ่ายตัวนี้ก็แบบทำหาตังค์ผมก็เลยเข้าได้พอเข้าไปพอหนังเนี่ยเจมส์บอนด์มาถึงจะรู้ว่าเราอยู่ในหนังเนี่ยมารู้ทีหลังหนังออกมาแล้ว
So he was a street kid around the indoor theater, and the manager always let him in for free. And that day he didn't even know what he was going to see when he went into the theater, but it was a James Bond film, and then his scene shows up on screen. So it was a surprise.
Amazing.
ก็เหมือนกันเด็กทั่วไปที่เที่ยวไปเรื่อยไปเงี้ยเที่ยวไปหาตังค์เหมือนเด็กสลัมเราก็ไม่รู้ว่าที่มามันเป็นยังไงอะไรคืออะไรเราก็หาตังค์ตามภาษาเราไปพอหนังเรื่องเกมบอลเข้าคนก็แย่เราก็มีผลประโยชน์ที่ไปขายตัวได้ตังค์ใช่ไหมไปขายตัวได้ตังค์พอหนังฉายเราเข้าไปเราอยู่ในนี้ได้ไง
He says he was just a slum kid, a street kid, didn't know anything about anything, and the people in the theater didn't even know that it was him.
อันที่ไม่รู้เพราะตอนมันเด็กไม่รู้อย่างเดียวว่า
He was just a slum kid, and
หาตังค์อย่างเดียว
he was only after the money. You know, if he made enough money to get it through the day, that was his goal, and he really didn't care about anything else.
It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic to hear all these stories, Sayun. It's so amazing. I just wonder before we go, can you remember any of your lines from the film? We'd love to hear you speak those lines if you can remember them.
ก็จำบทหนังได้ไหมครับที่เราพูด
แปลว่า
อยากจะให้เล่าให้ฟัง
อีเลฟเฟนบายวูดอะไรเนี่ยผมก็จำไม่ได้มันเป็นภาษาอังกฤษเขาเขียนเป็นภาษาไทยนะเป็นภาษาไทยเป็นคิดเป็นกระดาษ
Handsome man.
เขียนมาว่าภาษาไทยก็อีเลฟเฟน
He says he doesn't remember any of the lines. He just remembers something about an elephant, and it was just in one ear and out his mouth. He had no idea what he was saying.
จำไม่ได้เพราะว่าเราไม่รู้มันคืออะไรเราก็ไปตามชีวิตของเรานะ
To him, it was just sounds. So no, he doesn't remember the exact lines. Yeah.
ก็ไปตามชีวิตโอเค
One of them was he says bloody tourist, doesn't it?
Bloody tourist คืออยู่ในน้ำแล้วเขาเบี้ยวเขาไม่ได้ให้ตังค์เราแล้วก็ยกช้างไม้ขึ้นมาเขาบอก 20,000 baht bloody tourist นี่จำได้ป่ะ
ความหมายเราก็ไม่รู้เขาก็เขียนมาเราก็ไปตามนะเรื่องไม่รู้เรื่อง
He says he doesn't remember any of the
เขาให้
lines.
ทำอะไรก็ท
Because he just did what they told him to do.
ำให้ทำอะไรก็ทำจำไม่ได้แต่เขาให้ทำเราเขียน
Bloody tourist.
body toilet
Fantastic, Sayun. You've still got
เป็นเสียงของมันใช่ไหมเป็นเสียงจริงไม่ได้
ไม่มีครับก็พูดตามนี้นะ
He said it's his actual voice in the film. I was wondering if maybe it was dubbed over. No, it is his voice.
ไม่ได้พูดครั้งเดียวจบพูดเป็น100 คำละนั่งอย่างเงี้ยคุยอย่างเงี้ยพูดอย่างเงี้ยพูดอย่างเงี้ยตลอดเลยเป็น100
They made him repeat the lines like 100 times before they ran the cameras.
ถ้าไม่พูดแบบนี้ก็จำไม่ได้มันต้องพูดบ่อยๆมันก็ท่องจำนะครับมันก็ท่องพูด
Just over and over and over repetition, and then it was action, and he just went in and
เหมือน
repeated
กับ
it.
เหมือนกับแล้วที่ให้ผมเขียนเนี่ยผมก็ต้องดูก่อนว่าแล้วผมก็เขียนไปเรื่อยมันไม่ได้เขียนครั้งเดียวจำมันต้องเขียนไปเรื่อยเพราะมันไม่เรียนภาษาไทย
Right.
จ
He said it's just like when people ask him to personalize his autograph photos. I give him what they want to see in English. Bloody tourist, 20,000 baht, and he's just writing letter by letter. He doesn't really understand what it all means. It's just repetition.
Well, it means a lot. It really does, yeah. I want to thank you for this, Sayun. We have to go now, but we could go on because there's so many amazing things you're telling us. It's been a real joy and a pleasure to speak to you. And like we say, Bond fans all around the world will love to see you. They'll love to see that how you're getting on all these years later. And they'll also, want to donate to your charity as well. They would like to support you with that. So we will put that out to our channels, and we will make sure that people know where to support you, Sayun. But from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you so much for this. We really do.
ขอบคุณจากว่าเป็นดังในโลกของเจมส์บอนด์ที่แฟนคลับจะจำได้ทุกคนและเขาจะช่วยสนับสนุนเรา
ำขอบพระคุณอีกครั้งนึงครับคือด้วยความที่เป็นเด็กจดจำก็แค่นี้นะฮะถ้าจำมากกว่านี้ก็คงไม่ใช่แล้วอ่ะ
He's also thanking you for taking interest in him, and he's sorry if he can't remember everything because he was just a kid a long time ago.
Not at all, dear me, no.
It's been wonderful.
Been wonderful, yeah. Thank you so much, Sayun. And thank you,
Thank you very much.
It's been amazing.
Yeah, no worries.
Both here.
If you want to talk again, just let me know. Send me an
Yeah,
email.
well,
We'll
I
do it
think we
again.
might have to, mightn't we? After all this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe there'll
Thank
be an
you.
opportunity to meet one day.
Yeah,
Maybe some convention or something invited to join.
that would be wonderful. We would love to see you in
Yeah,
person.
the 50th anniversary is coming up in a
Yeah,
couple
it
of
is.
years. So
Isn't it? Yeah. In a couple of
He's
years, it will be.
very
won't
happy to meet his fans.
it? Yeah. Well, thank you very much, both of you. We wish you well,
Okay, thank
and we thank you for your amazing part in the James Bond world.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you both. Thank
Okay.
you.
ครับขอบคุณครับ
Okay, see you guys later then.